but that meant that I went all in on my career to the sacrifice of my family. And so I don't do that anymore, BJ, and I never would. It's one of my biggest life regrets is that for 7 years, my parents are saying, hey, like, you'll miss this. They grow so fast. And I always loved my career so much that I would say, but I love what I do. And, there's always tomorrow.
Hey, this is part 2 of our discussion with Clint Murphy. To have the full context, be sure to watch part 1 here, and don't forget to subscribe.
People don't trust, people trust what you've done, right? So, I mean, it's easy for me to write, like, I write it all the time, and it's the backdoor brag. It's like CFO, Ironman, ultramarathoner, multi-millionaire. I own $10 million of real estate. Like, and you just keep going down the list, and it's like, okay, like, I'm not a certified coach, but guess what? I've done a lot of shit that no other humans have. Like, it's that simple, right? Like, wife, 2 boys. Like, my boy's won, like, he's in grade 10. He's already won 5. Like, you guys will get this. He's won 5 state championships. Like, so it's not like, yeah, sure, that's his school, but that's me putting him in the school and helping train him as an athlete so that he can make the football team and win 3 state championships. So that like as a starter on the offensive line, you guys know what that's like. He's the left tackle. Like, hey, you're the blind side. Like, you got to do your job. Yeah. And so that, like, you just write about that shit. You're like, well, how do I teach him to be that kid? How do I teach him to be a good student? How do I be a good father? What are the things I do? What are the things I did to become a CFO? What are the things I did to be a multimillionaire? What are the things I did to grow a $10 million real estate portfolio while employed? Because I'm doing all these things while I'm a CFO. Like, like, how do you balance? Okay, you're a CFO, but you're also running ultra marathons while you're building a real estate development portfolio, while you're reading a book a week, and you're talking to the authors about the books that you're reading, and you're growing on social media. Like, how are you doing all of this? That's how I just share that.
Do you think being a father has massively impacted your content and your career in general? Because I could see a lot of people saying that managing a family and can, like, detract from your career and you sort of have to make a choice. But for you, it seems like that it's helped you a ton.
Well, seasons of life. There were times where I'm always careful with this one because I get emotional. Like, there were times where I wasn't there. My wife and I made a deal when we were young. She had parents who immigrated to Canada from Hong Kong, and they opened up a Chinese food restaurant in the small town that we lived in the burbs. Like, imagine, where did they have Magnolia? Like, just outside of Austin, Chip and Joanna Gaines. What city is that?
Oh, Waco.
Like, tiny town, right?
Yeah.
So we grew up in a city like that. So you imagine it was probably there's like 3 Chinese food restaurants, 3 other Chinese businesses. All the families know each other.
Yeah.
And her parents worked, for the first 5 years, they worked 7 days a week. And then for the next 10 years, they worked 6 days a week. So from 12 till 12, right? So she didn't see her parents growing up. So she said very early on, when we have kids, I'm going to have a job that supports me being with our family, and you make the money. Like, that's your job. And it meant to become a CFO, like, I sacrificed. Like, we talked about what KPMG was like, but it stayed like that for me. Like, people don't get it. They want all the balance. They're young. They're like, I want work-life balance. It's like, well, okay. You say you want title growth, you want money growth, you want new and interesting work, you want to work on fun projects, and you want balance. Like, you can't get them all. So this went away. I just worked.
Yeah.
And there was a period when your kids are young, you're their hero just for being their dad. And then when they hit about 8, 9 years old, you're only their hero if you actually do shit to be their hero. And there came a point where I was working so many hours that I didn't see my family. There was a period where I didn't see them for like a month. And it started, or two, and it started on Mother's Day. Like, look, my wife rolled over in bed. We were hugging, and I said, hey, the next couple months are going to be pretty bad. Like, I need your support, and I'm not going to be here much. I need, you know, like I'm telling her that on Mother's Day. Like, you gotta start sucking it up. I need your help. And a few weeks later, like imagine she was KPMG too, Gavin. So she'd been through
she
the
was
gauntlet,
working that
right?
much as well.
She know. Yeah. Well, not anymore.
Oh,
not
yeah.
Anymore,
Okay, you're
we
right,
had the kids. She was an internal auditor working for a government entity, but she'd been through the gauntlet.
Yeah.
She'd done her 5-6 years.
Yeah.
And she rolled over in bed, put her head on my chest, was crying, and said, I missed you. And I gave her a hug. I said, I miss you too. I love you. I got to go to work. It was a Saturday. Like, I got to go to work. Because there was a period, it was about 2 months, where I worked on average about 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. Like, it was just stupid. But there were things we had to get done. We had some turnover on the team. And my oldest son stopped looking me in the eye. And he stopped saying, I love you. We said, I love you to each other every day, right? Stop saying, I love you, and stopped looking me in the eye. I wasn't his hero anymore, boys. I was not his hero. And I pulled him aside and I said, like, hey, is this because I'm not here? Like, you know, I'm noticing you're not looking at me. You're not talking to me. You don't say I love you anymore. And he said, yeah. Yeah. Like, you're not here. And I had to make a pretty big pivot there. Yeah, I wasn't the CFO yet. I was pushing to become it. And we had an all colleagues meeting out in the suburbs, because we're a developer. So, you know, we had it on one of our job sites. And it was over, and the president of the company said to me, he's like, hey, why don't you drive back with me? And somewhere on the drive back, he asked, like, what's your number one fear in taking over this job? And I was like, well, you know, I got to figure this out. Like, I can't have my son not love me, and I can't be that dad. So I explained to him what was happening. And he said, yeah, I went through the same thing when my oldest hit that age. And I had to shift how I approached work, right? Like, I made sure I was home for breakfast, and I made sure I got home and by a certain hour. And like, if I needed to work after they went to bed, or I needed to get up early and work before they woke up, I did. But, you know, we got to figure out something for you. And we had a meeting a day or two later, G&A meeting. And then after the meeting, he asked me and the current CFO to hold back. And he looked at the current CFO and said, for the next year, no special projects. None. We're just going to do what we've always done. We don't need to get better at anything outside of that, because that guy right there needs to spend some time with his kids. And I think that was a shift for me. That was the year where I started to reprioritize family. And, you know, for people that are listening, it's hard to create a business. It's hard to grow your career and have a family. And for people that are listening, a disproportionate amount of that volume falls on the wife, falls on the mom. And it's one of the things that leads to differences in careers between men and women. And I'm not saying it has to be that way. I'm not saying whether that's right or wrong. I'm saying that's reality. Like, that's the statistics. That's the math of it. In our situation, my wife chose to say, hey, the family's me. But that meant that I went all in on my career to the sacrifice of my family. And so I don't do that anymore, BJ, and I never would. It's one of my biggest life regrets, is that first 7 years, you know, my parents are saying, hey, like, you'll miss this. They grow so fast. And I always loved my career so much that I would say, but I love what I do. And, you know, there's always tomorrow. Tomorrow's always almost over. Like the 15-year-old, like he doesn't want to hang out with me anymore, right? They finished their basketball game yesterday. They punched their ticket to the provincial championships or the state championships, so that'll start next week. And after that, he's like, "Hey, is it all right if I hang out with the boys?" And they just went out for the rest of the night, right? Met up with their girlfriends that they don't tell us about, and had their time. And we're dead as parents. Like, how often do you guys go see your parents now? Like, both of you, how often do you go see mom and dad?
Not enough.
You know, Sawhill always posts that like I think 90% of the time we'll spend with them is over when they're 19. Like, it's over. And he's 15 and his little brother's 12. So for that 12-year-old, I'm not missing any school football games. I'm not missing any sports. For the older guy, like, I'm not missing any sports. If he's blessed enough, you know, knock on wood, that he gets into a college in the U.S. and plays ball, like, fuck, I'm flying in on Saturdays for the games. Like, I'm going to make up for that time I missed. And for the people that are entrepreneurs, like, you'll see guys like Warren Buffett were a horrible father. Elon doesn't seem like a good dad. Like,
yeah, I don't think he is. I just read a biography about him.
You can't be. You can't be all in on what you want to build while you have a family.
It's hard.
I mean, all the rich people I can think of, Bezos, Musk, Gates, divorces.
Yeah.
Like, fairly.
Because they're so singly focused. And so, like, try to figure out like how to balance that.
Yeah, it does seem like, to a certain degree, though, a lot of them are like, Steve Jobs he seemed like a psychopath, and Elon Musk, I mean, he has Asperger's, and to a certain degree, he doesn't understand emotions that other people experience very well. He knows it. He knows it in theory, but in practice, he just doesn't understand it. But kind of circling back to what you were just telling us, if you were to do it all over again, what choices do you think you would have made that deviate from the ones you made?
Well, I mean, it's interesting because it's so hard with do it all over again, right? I always answer this question in a similar way, in that I can't do anything over pre-33 because then I wouldn't have my sons.
Okay.
I'd have sons, maybe, but they wouldn't be those sons. Yeah. And so I always draw the line there. Like, I can't not draw the line, right? It's like It's a Wonderful Life, where he goes back and it's like he wasn't there, and well, that means his kids weren't born, and that it's like, holy shit. Like, because that's the greatest thing I've ever done is those two. So I like to draw that line. But, you know, if someone else were me, I just would have compacted the path I was on. And so I would have started. But they didn't have all this stuff when I was there, guys. You guys have this. They didn't have social media when I was in my 20s. They didn't have iPhones. They didn't have smartphones. We barely had the internet. We had dial-up, like, right? Like, so what would I do? Like, I would be building my brand while I was in college, like you two are doing. I would be on all the socials. I would be growing. I would be learning how to write. I would be learning how to speak. I would be hosting a podcast. I would be growing. Like, you guys know Jay Yang Expires. Like, he was doing this stuff when he was 16, and he's growing, and he makes mistakes along the way, but he also learns and grows and does cool shit. And so I'd be doing that starting at 16. Like, I'd be like Mr. Beast. I'd be like 12, 13, and I'd be creating and be like, hey, I'm going to start creating now because I believe in exponentiality, and I believe I'm going to get better every single day. And by the time I'm 25, I'm going to be destroying the world. And so that's the first thing. I would start on social media as early and as fast as I could as a creator, not as a consumer. And I would spend my time studying and understanding how all the algorithms work and how to be the best at every single thing I did. And then I would parlay that into starting my businesses sooner. So I would figure out what it was I would want to do. I would go do it again, the same way I said earlier, with some of the best in my city or in my province or in the country or the world, if I could, if I'd built enough of a reputation through the social that I got access. And then I would go there, I would do it. I would gain that knowledge. I would share it with the world so I could start to establish myself as an expert in that field as fast as possible. And then I would start my business in that field. Yeah. So like if it was real estate, I would start, I would figure out what's the best place in the country to get a degree in real estate. And I would look at some of the best people in the country running the real estate companies and in high positions and say, where did they go to school? Figure out, because there's usually certain programs that really spit out the bread and butter. So I would set myself up like that's the program I've got to get into because that's where I want to end up. Start building my brand online, talking about where I'm going, why I'm going there, and why, like, and I don't mean the school. I mean like why real estate? What do I know now? What do I want to know? Start building my connections in real estate Twitter. And then I would go to that place, I would get that degree, and while I'm doing it, I would be building the brand, working on getting access to the internships that would get me access to the right shops so that I could learn what I want to learn. And so then it's like, oh, I just got into Starwood and I'm working my way up in Starwood, or I'm working my way up in Blackstone. Okay, I got to the VP level, target a level that you want to get to. Got to the VP level. I've been sharing my knowledge along the way. People know me as an expert in that area. Boom, I open up my own shop. I'm 30 years old. I've got hundreds of thousands of friends and colleagues on social media. I've spent 10 years in the best programs and the best institutions. Bang, I'm starting my own shop.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's like a blueprint for success right there. So everyone probably should go back and watch that again. But and you keep talking about sort of having these connections, having these companies that you've worked for, and just this massive network on top of having the podcast with all these guests. What sort of like patterns and like common things do you observe between all these super successful people that you think could be incorporated into people's lives?
One of the main ones is hunger, right? You have that hunger to grow and to be better than you are today. And most of these people aren't super niche. And what I mean by that is I chatted with my closest friend, like one of my closest friends who runs, that group for KPMG. And what he notices that are different about both of us, and I see this in a lot of high performers, is we can talk to you about a very wide variety of topics. Like we both go very deep in certain topics, and then we go pretty deep in a lot of topics. So it's like, oh, you want to talk about like think about everything we're talking about right now, social media, growth, podcasting. It's like, these are all things that I go super deep on. If you wanted to talk about ultra marathoning, if you wanted to talk about like CrossFit, if you like, I go deep on all these things. He goes deep on a lot of things. Like there's this idea of a T-shaped professional. You go very deep on certain things and then you go wide. So you develop depth and breadth. And you see a lot of high performers have that. They are not siloed individuals. They are very deep on certain things and it becomes more than one thing. And then they're very, very wide. They have breadth across a lot of areas. So especially like entrepreneurs, like the best entrepreneurs I see, they know the numbers. They know what the marketing team does. They know what the sales team does. They understand the construction process. They understand the development process. And if you look at Elon and you look at SpaceX as an example, like he knows how the rocket's built. He read books on how to build a rocket ship. How am I going to break this back to first principles? He didn't just say, I want to hire people to build a rocket ship. He's like, I got to know how to do that. So he knows how to do that. He knows how Neuralink works. He knows how the Tesla car is built, right? He slept on the factory floor.
Yeah, that was so funny.
There's that breadth of knowledge and there's depth to it. And so that's the thing that I think separates people the most, is that willingness to go very wide across a number of areas to a sufficient amount of, like, you can't just touch the surface. It's like Charlie Munger always said with the lattice work of mental models. All you need to do is take some of the biggest ideas from each field and add them to your lattice work, and you've got enough of a width. Because what he was talking about was building the breadth. Add a sufficient enough depth, because he would take physics and he'd be like, what are the 5 to 20 things I need to know from physics? Okay, I've built my physics, chemistry, biology, mathematics, English. He's picking up like the top 10 to 20 ideas from all of those fields to give him breadth. So now he sits down with you and you start talking about beekeeping, and he's like, oh, you love beekeeping. Like, tell me about this. Like, I know, like, all I know is 5 things, but like, here's all I know. You build on that for me. You know how to win friends and influence people. Like, how do you be interesting? You be interested. You tell me you like something. I have like a nugget of knowledge about that. I'm like, I don't know. Like, all I know is this. And you're like, oh shit, that's more than the average person. Yeah, let's dig in. And now I can have an interesting conversation with you about what you're interested, because I'm not siloed. I'm a wide breadth person who can be like, oh, like, you like logistics and transportation? Oh, let's talk about this and this. And you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I love that. Right? So I think that is the biggest thing that differentiates people is go wide, go very wide, but also deep enough that you're not just shallow.
Yeah, I think a lot of the people that I've seen, that a lot of the people like on social media that I respect a lot, I don't know if you know who MKBHD is, but he's probably the biggest YouTuber in the tech space. He just reviews the latest and greatest tech that comes out from top companies. You know, he'll review Teslas, he'll review Apple products and stuff like that. But I think he's so cool because not only is he the largest YouTuber in the tech space, but he's also a professional ultimate frisbee player. Like the highest level you could get. And I think that's so cool. He also has his own podcast. Like, he could talk, I'm sure you could talk to him all day about the stuff he's doing on the side, and not just his largest YouTube channel in the world related to tech. And I think it's so interesting when you find people like that. Joe Rogan's a great example. He's a guy that has one of the largest podcasts in the world. He's a comedian, stand-up comedian, and he's also an announcer for it's boxing.
Not only an announcer, he has multiple black belts.
Yeah, I'm sure he does too.
He does. He
Jiu-jitsu.
If I'm not mistaken,
anything related to
Taekwondo,
jiu-jitsu he could talk about.
And he's got a high level of belt in jiu-jitsu. So like he's got black belts in striking, jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
so
he's an
cool.
Actual mixed martial artist.
Yeah.
But he's the perfect example. It's that Renaissance capacity. Like, he can have anyone on his podcast about anything and have a conversation with them about it.
Yeah, it was so... I listened to a podcast with him recently. He had Aaron Rodgers on, and they spent 2 hours not even talking about football. And he had Aaron Rodgers on, a quarterback in the NFL. And it was so funny. I guess that's more so to Aaron Rodgers' credit than anything, that he's at that level and he's still able to have a conversation with somebody, albeit Joe Rogan, a guy that could talk to a brick wall if he needed to, about literally anything. Like, wherever the conversation's going, he is fully prepared to get immersed into it and kind of just see where it takes him. And I have a lot of respect for people like that. Me and my friend were talking about this with the MKBHD guy I was talking about, and how he was telling me that he was a pro ultimate frisbee player, and I had no idea, because I just watched his videos every now and then when they came out. I love the quality of his videos. In my opinion, they're the highest quality videos on the internet right now. Like, it's literally just art watching his videos. The quality is amazing. Yeah, it's awesome. If you want to learn about the new latest and greatest tech products that come out, he does a lot of stuff with Tesla. I remember watching this video that he posted about the Tesla roof, and he was saying all of his takeaways from the Tesla roof within the first year of owning it. And it was such a good video. I learned so much from it. And yeah, I just have a lot of respect for the guy. Even before learning the fact that he was a pro ultimate frisbee player, which is kind of a cool little thing to add to your resume.
Yeah, a definite nugget.
Yeah, you should check him out. He's really cool.
Yeah, I know who he is because I've seen him on social, Marcus Brownlee. But I haven't checked out his YouTube. I've only seen him on Twitter.
Gotcha.
So one of the things that sort of, to me, ties this together is recently he's been reviewing like the Apple Vision Pro, right? The new VR, AR headsets that people can wear to do crazy stuff. And I'm seeing a lot of like influencers that a couple of years ago, they had VR experts in their bios, and now they say AI experts, and now they're just hopping from trend to trend. You've built this fairly massive following incredibly quickly, not doing any of that trend hopping, just doing what you really, really seem to enjoy, the psychology stuff that you want to do from the beginning. And so kind of to that, like doing stuff to get attention and likes and just hopping from trend to trend versus doing what will make you happy and what you want to be known for. What's sort of your perspective on that?
Yeah, like the biggest mistake I've probably made along the way is like, you know, this type of content goes viral, so I'll create that type of content. And really, I think you're better served by staying in the genre that you want to be in, even if you have a lower follower count, but you have people who are in that genre, because you become a respected expert in the area that you want to be a respected expert in. Now, at the same time, you can become a respected expert in that area and grow a big following if you do it the right way. And if you look at two people and they are both writers about the same topic area, but one of them has a much larger following, and key is also much larger engagement, because if you can have a large follower account but have no engagement on your content. So as long as you have, you know, you're doing both well, then all else equal, it's better to have the larger following. So it's finding that balance. And now you'll see me shift my content to writing about three things: like growth and development, real estate, and entrepreneurship, as I try to build a new flywheel to drive volume and traffic to my businesses that I'm going to be creating, which is a whole different world. And the idea is to drive deal flow, access to people, and access to capital. Those become the three things I now want. Was my newsletter, was the podcast. Now it's the growth of the businesses that I'm going to create, which means I need deal flow, I need people, and I need capital. So everything I will slowly evolve my content to is to gain access to those three things.
Yeah.
To your point about the engagement and the following, one of the things that I've seen on Threads recently that makes me want to shy away from the platform is just a ton of people complaining about Instagram and how they have 100,000 followers but are only reaching 1,000 accounts, and just complaining that it's the algorithm, whatever. But I thought it was super funny. I screenshotted it. Is right beneath it, there was a post from Alex Kulmasi, sales guy, and it just says, "No one deserves anything." And it wasn't related to the post above, but together, I thought it was just hilarious how the two go together. Because truly, what the follower count doesn't really matter, because
it's the content that matters.
It's the content, it's engagement. It's just getting people obsessed.
100%.
Wait.
Awesome.
That is funny. Wait, when did you find that?
I'll send it to you.
Okay.
I'll post it on all our socials as well so people can see it. But I just think that's phenomenal how it seems like you're building this one where people are getting super engaged. I mean, coming on here is engagement with your fans. Newfound fan right here, loving everything you're producing.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Here
guys.
as well.
But yeah, we are actually like way over. We've stolen a ton of your time. So we're going to quickly get to the last part of the show.
Okay.
You've been giving these really great detailed answers, which we love. But this last part of the show is our rapid fire.
Rapid fire. Let's go.
Yes. Six questions, back to back, super fast. First one is, how much sleep do you get?
I have historically through my life probably averaged about 6.5 hours.
Awesome.
While training
In
for
bed,
Ironman?
6.5 hours in bed. So I don't know.
Right.
That probably
Jeez.
translates
Okay.
to 6 hours of sleep. Yeah.
What's your favorite book and why?
Number 1 is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. If you read that book and you do what's in it, you're going to lead an amazing life. Like full stop.
Read it.
Like Atomic Habits, it's 11 million people who've read a book and done nothing about it. If you read 7 Habits and you just do the chapter begin with the end in mind, it's more than enough to cover Atomic Habits.
Wow. We were
One
just
chapter,
talking before.
one habit.
Our first episode was on Atomic Habits. So
That's probably one
massive-
of my favorite books still to this day, Atomic Habits.
Well, it's everyone's favorite book, but no one does anything about it.
Yeah.
So what does that tell you?
They like the idea.
They like the idea of the book. They don't actually like what's in it. Guys, I don't want to pick on the book because I haven't even read it, but I know he's an amazing wordsmith, and what he's written in there is probably fantastic and amazing, but people don't actually do it.
100%. Well, that kind of leads to this next question. What's your advice for young people? What's your one tip?
Become, and I'll borrow from him, become the type of person who knows you can do things. And so start with small goals. I boil your life down. It's to achieve anything is 3 things. Know what you want, understand what it takes, do the work day in, day out. Ray Dalio breaks that middle step into understand the obstacles in your way, how you're going to overcome those obstacles, then go do it. Stephen Covey has a very similar 3 things. The book Ultra Learning has a very similar, like anyone who writes about this stuff, it really is that simple. You know what you want, you understand how to do it, and then you actually do the work to do it. So for any young person, picking that up as early in your life as possible. I've been preaching that to my boys since they were 9 years old. My son said it on his interview to get into the high school that he got into was, hey, in my life, I want to go to college. I want to do these things. I need to know what I want. I need to understand what it takes, and I need to do the work. I need to show up and do it daily. So for any young person, those 3 things.
Okay. What's next question? What's most important to you in life?
Family. My boys.
The next one is, if you could change anything about the world, what would it be?
That's a deep one. It's a combination of that post that Alex wrote and the post above it. I think we're getting to a time in this world where I'm scared of what I see. There's so much division and hate, and social media drives a lot of it, where it's like I'm either on the left or I'm on the right or I'm this or I'm that. And just for people to understand moderation and you can be this and that. Life's not either or, and you don't deserve fucking anything. Like, there's so much entitlement out there from young people now where they go back to those 5 things they all want. Like, you're not going to get that. You got to work for what you're going to get. And so like, what do I want to change about the world? I kind of want to go back in time a little, pre all this social media entitled wokeism bullshit, and have a little like personal responsibility, personal ownership, and a drive for the collective good in a way that isn't super selfish and all about me, while also realizing like capitalism is the greatest system ever built. So let's all stop being like woke, idealist, communist, entitled brats. Sorry, that's probably a little harsh at the end there.
All right, last one. How do you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered as someone who added value to the world. I want to build some amazing things. I want to build some amazing wealth. And I don't want to only build that amazing wealth for me. I want to build that amazing wealth for anyone who invests with me, for anyone who's on my team and has the opportunity to invest alongside us, for people who buy the products that we create and the homes that we build. So I want, I want a billion people to be better for me having been here. So I want to, whether that's helping them grow personally, professionally, or financially, it's the line I always use, and some of my colleagues pick on me for it, but I want to help a billion people grow in that way, personally, professionally, or financially, ideally all three.
Amazing. Yeah. And with everything you're doing, working so hard with the podcast, the newsletter, the social media content, your real estate work, I think you're on track for that. And I can't wait to see that and watch you grow. Now, lifelong fans having talked to you and working on this. Thank you for coming on.
The next 6 months are going to be big. There's going to be a lot of announcements on what's happening, what we're doing, and very excited to share that with the world. I'm probably going to finish up my contract in 2 months, and then I'll take a few months with my family and with myself, like a little bit of a sabbatical, because like you guys said, it's been 25 years of nonstop drive working for others, and haven't really had any space in there. So I'll probably take 2 or 3 months, and then I'll come back and I'll have some, I'll do some soul searching and thinking. And I've already started thinking about a lot of it in building, and I'll be announcing what's going on. So I'm very excited to do that in the next 6 months.
Excellent. We're going to make sure everyone listening is able to find you. All your stuff will be in the description. Be sure to check out everything. Yeah. And everyone listening, please subscribe, comment, let us know what you think of Clint and everything he's doing. Share your thoughts. And we'll see you next week, Tuesday at noon. Don't be late. We'll see you there.